calling Ivan McKee to speak to and move the motion for up to 12 minutes.
12. Thank you, Presiding Officer. Scotland is a trading nation. For centuries, our businesses have travelled the globe to find and develop new markets. This Scottish Government understands the importance of trade to the success of our economy. That's why we take Scotland's role in trade negotiations seriously. I spend a large proportion of my time travelling the country, listening to businesses and business organisations, working with them to support their efforts to increase exports. And I hear their concerns about Brexit on a daily basis. Businesses unable to plan due to uncertainty and potential disruption, the threat to livelihoods and jobs, the impact of tariff and non-tariff barriers on trade and on businesses' ability to attract workers with the right skills, the risk to inward investment and no guarantees to prevent vital protections for some of Scotland's most iconic products being bargained away by a UK government desperate to do a deal. These concerns are reflected in the recent FSB poll of small businesses, which found that business confidence is decreasing as the threat of a no-deal Brexit grows. These concerns should be at the forefront of UK government thinking in their exit planning. Instead, we hear UK ministers accusing businesses of using Brexit as an excuse. By contrast, this Scottish Government takes business seriously. That is why we need to address their fears by ensuring that Scotland has a voice in our future trading environment. The publication of our recent paper on Scotland's role in the development of future UK trade arrangements forms an important part of the Scottish Government's preparation for exit from the EU. It clearly makes the case that we need to ensure Scotland's economic and social interests are protected and promoted, that the voice of Scotland's consumers, businesses and wider society are heard, and that the Scottish Parliament, Scottish Government and others must have a guaranteed role in formulating and agreeing future trade deals. As members know, the Scottish Government continues to believe that the best option for the future well-being of Scotland, and indeed of the UK as a whole, is to remain in the EU. That position is consistent with the will of the people of Scotland, who voted overwhelmingly to remain, and they did so for powerful social and economic reasons. The benefits of EU membership to Scotland are crystal clear. The EU is the single largest market for Scotland's international exports. 6 of Scotland's top 10 export destinations are in the EU. A further 2 have trade agreements with the EU. Rather than choose to put our faith in new, unquantified trade deals which have yet to be negotiated, we recognise the value of current trading relationships. That is why we will continue to take every opportunity to put forward a robust case for remaining in the EU, the single market and the customs union. The UK Government's approach is chaotic and it is irresponsible. Its proposals now exposed as unworkable, unacceptable and heading towards a no-deal Brexit. Analysis after analysis, including that by the UK Government itself, shows that continued membership of the European Single Market and Customs Union would be the least damaging option for a UK outside of the EU. Such membership would help to promote businesses, communities and individuals from some of the inevitable damage Brexit will deliver. Even the most optimistic estimates of potential gains from new markets could not fully mitigate that damage. Yet remaining in the single market and customs union is an option the UK Government still refuses to consider. Presiding Officer, the risks we are facing are not of Scotland's making, but as a responsible government, we need to make preparations for all possible scenarios, including leaving the EU, single market and customs union. Mike Russell set out the Scottish Government's coherent, consistent and collaborative approach to preparing for those scenarios in his recent statement to Parliament. Preparations ranging from ensuring a working statute book after exit to the practicalities of maintaining access to essential medicines and ensuring we have the right staff in place to meet the challenges Brexit will bring. Scotland's exporters are among our most productive and innovative businesses. Scotland's Trade and Investment Strategy, Global Scotland, sets out the key actions and commitments we and our partners are taking to boost export performance and attract inward investment. The measures we have already taken to improve our trade performance are working, with Scotland's exports growing faster than those from the rest of the UK. We've established a trade board, appointed trade envoys to champion export opportunities at home and overseas. We've expanded our global network of offices, doubled our SDI presence in Europe and funded the establishment of local export partnerships across Scotland, working with the local chambers of commerce. Additional support has been delivered through our enterprise and skills agencies to help business prepare for the future. The programme including help to create a Brexit-focused action plan, project support, online learning and skills workshops. Our £20 million programme for government commitment to support Scotland's export drive, helping the next wave of export-ready businesses. This will include peer-to-peer export mentor programme being rolled out in connection with the CBI. And the ongoing work to develop our export plan, a trading nation, rigorously data-driven, taking input from business organisations, industry bodies, trade unions and others to pinpoint where we should focus resources to maximise Scotland's export growth potential. Indeed.
Murdo Fraser.
I'm grateful to the Minister for giving way. He's more than 5 minutes into his speech, and we've yet to hear very much about the subject of this debate, which is future trade arrangements being negotiated by the UK. So can he tell us, is it the position of the Scottish Government that it believes that devolved administrations should have a right of veto over future trade policy?
Ivan McKee.
Mr Fraser would know if he'd read the motion that the first part of the motion talks about the importance of trade to Scotland's businesses, and that's exactly what I've been talking about for the first part of my contribution. And if he listens to the rest of the speech, he will get the answer to his question. But the short answer is no, but he will hear the answer as he listens to the rest of my contribution. Presiding Officer, Brexit may not be our choice, but we are working with business to give them the tools to best meet the challenge it creates. And we are focused on the decision-making processes that should underpin how future trade deals are made. Deals that have profound consequences for our businesses and citizens. That is the purpose of our recently published paper, Scotland's Role in the Development of Future UK Trade Arrangements. Outside of the EU, the UK will become a third country. As such, it will become responsible for negotiating its own international trade deals with the EU and with others. The UK will lose the EU's substantial negotiating power, scrutiny and expertise. But within the UK, the arrangements currently in place for the development of trade deals are already inadequate, out of date and in need of an urgent and radical overhaul. In affording so minimal a role to the UK Parliament, to devolved institutions and to business and civic interests, existing arrangements have failed to keep pace with constitutional developments within the UK. That should be changed now. Even if the UK remains in the EU and Customs Union, the UK Parliament, devolved institutions and others must have a proper voice in the agreement of future trade deals. Current arrangements have also failed to keep pace with global developments, including in the nature of trade deals themselves. Earlier trade deals focused on tariffs and quotas. Now they have a much broader scope, potentially affecting a wide range of devolved interests. Their effects are felt across all sectors of society by our businesses and citizens. Democratic scrutiny of these arrangements and the enduring impact they have must be increased and improved to reflect that. Indeed.
Patrick Harvey.
I'm grateful to the Minister giving way, and perhaps by way of balancing the intervention from Murdo Fraser earlier, now that the Minister is talking about the potential impact on devolved areas of future trade agreements, isn't it clear that this Parliament and other devolved jurisdictions within these islands should have the ultimate say on whether those trade agreements do impact and curtail or constrain devolved competencies?
Ivan McKee.
Yes, indeed. And Mr Harvey makes a very strong point and is absolutely correct. That need for change, of course, becomes considerably more urgent and necessary if the UK leaves the EU single market and customs union. Scotland, as we know, often has very different trade priorities from other parts of the UK. Different sectors are important to Scotland's economy. Only one of Scotland's top 5 EU export sectors appears in the equivalent UK list. Scotland's key sectors need to be protected, and the inevitable horse trading that forms a part of any trade negotiations. Scotland has specific protected geographical indications crucial to our export performance. When UK government ministers are unable, even at this early stage, to commit themselves to ensuring that protection remains in place in future deals, Scotland's businesses have a right to be concerned. How we trade tells us a lot about who we are as a society and the values we have. In our approach to protecting our environment, our public services, our workers' rights, Scotland's Parliament and Government have consistently shown a different set of priorities, reflecting wider Scottish public opinion. It would clearly be unacceptable, for example, for a UK Government to impose trade deals that opened up Scotland's NHS to private competition or opened up our markets to chlorine-washed chicken or hormone-injected beef. Scotland needs a voice at the table to ensure our priorities are not ignored. The development, conduct and content of future trade deals will increasingly have very important implications for Scotland. Yet the UK government is making no proposals for change to change existing and out-of-date arrangements. That cannot be right. So far, the UK government's record on this is not a good one. Its approach to the EU Withdrawal Act, the Trade Bill and the imposition of common frameworks have all demonstrated their willingness to curtail devolved powers. The UK government has talked a good game about giving the devolved institutions their proper place and about devising trade deals that work for the whole of the UK, but the reality is somewhat different. When put to the test, they struggle to treat Scotland and other devolved nations as anything more than narrow sectoral interests. At best, we are merely offered the chance to comment on already well-developed proposals. Decision-making processes must recognise, respect and protect the economic and social interests of all four nations of the UK. To ensure that Scotland's voice is heard and respected, and to protect and promote the interests and ambitions of our businesses and citizens, the Scottish Government and Scottish Parliament must have a guaranteed role in all stages of the formulation, negotiation, agreement and implementation of future trade deals. Indeed.
Dean Lockhart.
Can the Minister confirm it's still the Scottish Government's policy to have a differentiated approach to Europe, which would hand back all trade powers to Brussels?
Ivan McKee.
Yes, of course it's our objective to have a different policy from that of the rest of the UK with regard to Europe, but that does not mean that what the member said would fall into place. Absolutely not. Our paper sets out in great detail what that involvement might look like. It also, and this is crucial, proposes the establishment and statute of a new intergovernmental committee to consider and agree a range of trade issues. That approach would be in everyone's interest. Domestically, it will ensure that negotiations are conducted based on a full understanding of the issues, and wider afield, it will provide reassurance to the UK's current and future negotiating partners that there is a consensus across the UK for potentially difficult and lengthy trade negotiations, and that once agreements are stuck, they will endure. Scotland wants to be a constructive part to the other nations of the UK and a fair trading partner to countries around the world. The benefits of a more inclusive approach to the development of trading arrangements are widely recognised and welcomed internationally. The EU demonstrates the value it places on such an approach by ensuring that representatives from the Canadian provinces were fully involved in the CETA negotiations. But while we can learn much from those examples, the circumstances facing the UK are unique, and so must the response. I want to finish today by emphasising that our paper on Scotland's role in the development of future trade arrangements seeks to open a discussion, recognising that others, including this Parliament, must have their say. I look forward to a wide-ranging and constructive debate this afternoon as the next stage in that discussion. Presiding Officer, I move the motion in my name.